Hello everyone and welcome to another Story Explained video on the channel. Today we're taking a look at Itsjustjord's brand new game, The Bathhouse, or as it's translated from, How Public Bath. Now, I have no idea how it's pronounced, and I really would rather respect the Japanese language and not even try to do it. The Bathhouse is the latest project from Itsjustjord, and I have to say, after playing it, it was very fun and scary, all the perfect ingredients for a great horror game. So in this video, I'm going to explain what is going on in this place in the mountains and recap on all of the story and the things that we could have missed in our first playthrough. This video is going to be a little bit different than usual, so let me know if you enjoyed it. Of course, if you do want to see more content like this, make sure to hit like and subscribe, you know, all the usual stuff that helps the channel and myself out. But obviously, with the shameless self-promotion out of the way, let's get into the video. And remember, this video is going to contain nearly every spoiler for the Bathhouse, so you've been warned. But anyway, let's get into it. The game begins with what looks like a monk whipping something in the darkness. You could speculate that this could be Yoko, as we talk about later in the video, but for now we're not sure who or what the monk is even whipping. A text comes over the screen telling us that someone wants to quit working at a company and it's making them tired and depressed. The person in question wants to move away to the countryside and escape the city life. They come across a flyer, and in this flyer it states that you can live in this countryside in the mountains rent-free, so long as you work in the bathhouse. So, the game begins and you play as Mina. I think I pronounced that right, please don't hate me if I haven't. Day 1 sees Mina moving her items into room 203. While doing this, she notices a man in a cap standing outside of his apartment, watching her as he smokes a cigarette. While most people would probably help out someone moving in, this man watches and waits. As you move in, you get to meet your landlord, who tells you you stink. Very charming. He mentions that after you finish moving in, you should meet up with him at the bathhouse, as he has something he wants to tell you. After unpacking, you notice in the room that there is a hole in the wall, and it looks like hair is coming from it. You have the choice to pull it out or leave it in. In my case, I always end up pulling it out. After this, you leave your room and go to the bathhouse. On your way, you are distracted by a monkey that seems to be crying out. The monkey brings your attention to the temple with the monk in. He greets you and welcomes you with open arms, as he says. He then states that he knows you're working hard to get the bathhouse running, and how you shouldn't do that. He claims that there is a presence following you, and tells you to get blessed at the temple. He blesses you, and you carry on to the bathhouse. You meet the landlord at the bathhouse, and he gives you the very basic rundown of how the game is going to be played. Throughout your workday, you're going to be completing objectives that are left on the task board, and to end every day in shift, you end it with a shower. While working your shift, a message comes from the radio informing you about a 29-year-old woman that's been missing for a week or 7 days. This becomes important later, not specifying where, but it's explained that the woman is a resident in the area, and the police say that she was last seen talking to an elderly lady who looked to be in her 60s who lives nearby. And this, we later find out, sounds a lot like Matsuno. I think I pronounced that right, please, again, I'm sorry. You take a nap. Now it looks like no customers are coming in. During the nap, you awake to the sound of Futa crying out, claiming, "What was that?" He claims he sees something in the sauna room. While you find nothing, Futa swears he saw something, and later on in game, we can understand what this might have been. After this, Futa leaves, and as you walk him out, you come across the first customer, Chio. Chio claims that a girl like you looks perfect for the offering. After this day ends, you can have a bath. The day ends with hearing the sound of wet footsteps approaching behind you. While nothing is there, you see a monkey running around in the bathhouse, looking to be in a panic. And after that, we receive a cutscene, where we can see the figure that Futa was referring to in the sauna room. We can see something which looks like it's climbing out of the floor. At first glance, you'd be forgiven for assuming the monkey really means nothing, but in actuality, as we'll discuss later on in the video, it's a big bit of symbolism there. This leads us into day 2, and day 2 begins with us waking up in our room. After some inspection, you can see more hair hanging out of the hole in the wall, and it seems to have grown longer. The interesting part is the calendar. It states, and I could be wrong here because I cannot read Japanese, so I apologize to anyone who might be offended by that, but if anyone does know, please drop a comment below and let us know. The calendar states with a large 8, which I believe, again, could be wrong, which makes the year 1996 because of Japanese calendars are different. From left to right, the order of the calendar goes Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. The first X on the calendar begins on Tuesday, and the last X is 9 days later. After this, you go to the bathhouse, where outside is an old lady looking at some flowers. She doesn't say much, so you continue into the bathhouse. The first customer you see is Keiichi. He wants you to bring him a drink in 15 minutes. And after this, the next customer comes in, who we now know to be Denko. And Denko is the lady that runs the appliance store. She says she's looking for her earring. After Denko looks for her earring, someone looks to be standing in the woman's entrance just waiting. Mina calls out to her, saying she can come in, but she doesn't respond and leaves. You take another nap, and after 15 minutes, you take the drink to Keiichi. He calls you a good girl and asks Mina why she works here, and he offers her a job with him, promising good money. He steps out to put on his suit, and before he does, you can see that he has large tattoos. The interesting part here is that you could suggest that he is a part of the Yakuza. After Keiichi leaves, the power goes out. You are then tasked to find out why this is, and then you see the appliance store next door is drawing a lot of power to run its electronics. You need to obtain the electrical box key from Denko. I think it's safe to say she wasn't looking for her earrings. You have to distract her by pulling the fire alarm, and then you can get the key and go behind the store. After powering the bathhouse again, you clean the area, and that's your last job. While cleaning the floor and walls, you notice there is a dirt spot that looks to be in the shape of a small child, a girl. It doesn't come off. You take another shower. While you take another shower, you can hear whispering, but no one is around. You step into the bath and can see the mysterious girl standing in the doorway. As she walks away, you can hear a drop of water in the bath. And when you look around, the girl drops into the water. After this, you hear noises coming from the male side, and so Mina goes to inspect. And after you turn off the taps, you hear the girl screaming in the boiler room. The cutscene shows that the area is now cornered off, and someone begins to mourn the girl that died in that boiler room outside of the bathhouse. This brings us to day 3, and it begins with another day being marked off the calendar, and again you have a choice to pull the hair from the wall as it grows longer. On your way to the bathhouse, you find the monkey from earlier lying dead on the floor. Of course, this is actually a bad omen, as like I said, we'll talk about it later in the video. Anyway, you start work again, and Chiyo and another person walks in, and the other person asks if you are the new girl. Oddly, a new face appears. Chiller takes Believer. He greets you and offers you Chiliatakes, the equivalent to a gold. Of course, the item is a gold chinchilla, the symbol of Chiller's Arts Games, but you can have it for the right price, 100,000 yen, which is about £600. Of course, Mina doesn't have that kind of money on her right away, and he promptly leaves. The phone rings, and it gives you a number 812. After around 20 minutes, Chiyo leaves alone, and again claims you would be perfect for an offering. After this, you're tasked with getting baking soda from the candy store. I believe this is just another way to lure Mina out. While going to the candy store, Mina comes across Imorgio, a merchant or farmer selling sweet potatoes. You can have one, as long as your knowledge of them is good. The correct answers are as follows. Where they grow is in the dirt. You can harvest them in autumn. Sweet potatoes do spawn flowers, and they look like morning glory. And the correct way to eat them, apparently, is stone-baked. And huzzah, you get a free potato. Keep it for later though, it will come in handy. Put it in the fridge preferably. In the candy store, you talk to Umeki. Umeki looks to be the one who came into the bathhouse earlier with Chiyo. Umeki says Mina has beautiful eyes and wants to take a closer look. She tells you that if you find her missing cat, Tamo-chan, she will give you a special gift. Tamo-chan is located outside of the apartments. When you get near, you will hear Tamo-chan meowing, and the man in the cap from earlier is urinating in the stall, and it's as if he's waiting to check you collect Tomo-chan, which I found very suspicious. You take Tomo-chan back to Yumeki. Yumeki thanks you for bringing Tomo-chan back. She gives you a gift, a small Japanese doll. While the gesture is nice, it's creepy as hell. And the doll is also holding the key to the chest at the back of the shop, which contains the baking soda. After this, you must clean up the bathhouse again. The baking soda is used to clean up some of the metal taps. After this, you can take another bath, but this time you go for a sauna treatment, and you rest, and the music builds and builds, and it starts to get tense, and you look around, and suddenly the girl appears with her mouth wide open above your shoulder, scaring the life out of the player. I must admit, I did change my pants after that one. This day ends with the camera watching the old lady Matsuno as she leaves her house and walks over to the bench in the playground, preparing for day 4. And as you can imagine, day 4 begins with another day being marked off the calendar, and again you have a choice to pull out the hair from the wall. You go to the bathhouse, but on the way you stop to speak to Matsuno. She's sobbing on the bench, saying that this is the only picture I have of her. That girl Matsuno seems to be referring to as her granddaughter. From her response, it's safe to assume that yes, it is her granddaughter and she's dead. And also, this must have been who she was mourning earlier in the game, so we know it weren't recently her granddaughter dying. You go to work and the first customer walks in, and it's Michi and her son, Shotaro. They both go towards the bath, and after a few seconds you can see the child running through into the male bath and begins to cry. Mina calls out to Michi, but she doesn't respond. So you go over to the boy, and he cries out about his hand. It looks like it's dripping blood. Mina goes to find the first aid kit, and Michi still isn't there. You help Shotaro, and he tells Mina that his mother forced his hand into the fan. Shotaro runs out of the room. Michi then approaches you and asks why you hurt her son, and that she's never coming back to this bathhouse again. After this, Futa becomes stuck in the ladies' toilets and asks for your assistance. As he's run out of toilet paper, Futa claims he made a mistake by being in the woman's toilet. After this, Futa runs out of the bathhouse and you're left with the task of cleaning for the day again. After cleaning the drains with bleach, it's time for another shower. And after the shower, you go to have a bath. And as you look into the bath, you get pulled into it by a girl. After the screen goes black, she throws you out again into a red-tinted bathhouse, which seems to be her world, if you will. Running from her at this stage is pointless. You can't go anywhere, and you can't run for long enough. And thus the girl captures Mina, and it looks as if she does kill her by strangling her with her hair. It seems that Mina was too wrapped up in her presence and had too much of a connection to this spirit or ghost of the girl. It's at this point the screen goes black and some text appears, and it's shown talking and says, "My sister hasn't been in touch with me." And it continues to say she was depressed in quitting her job. "I heard she was going to the place up in the mountain and work at a bathhouse. She isn't answering my calls. Maybe she's busy. I'm worried for her. I should check up on her. I'm going to her place for a night and to talk to her." And thus this begins day 5, and this starts out with Miho, who we can assume is Mina's and Irina's mother. Miho asks Irina if she's okay, and she doesn't look too good, reassuring her that her sister is more than likely okay, and is just struggling at the moment, and closes the conversation by telling Irina if she needs help, call her. Miho drives away, and Irina picks up her bags and goes to check her sister's room. Of course, Mina is not home, and Irina comes to this realization, and the landlord approaches her and welcomes Irina. The landlord tells Irina that Mina is on a trip with her friends at the moment, which we all know is not true. The landlord tells Irina that Mina should be back within a week, and in response to this, Irina asks if she can stay, and the landlord tells her she can, but they have no showers in these rooms, so she'll have to use the bathhouse, and of course offers her to stay for free if she works there too, which is a done deal on Mina being dead, as if she was coming back and the landlord knew about it, the position would be temporary. Irina gets the keys to apartment 205. In the apartment, Irina puts her bag down. In the corner of the room, she sees the Japanese doll, the one that we saw earlier. And yes, the doll has blood on its face. Irina goes to her job, and her first customer is the man with the cap. He gives her 50 yen, which isn't the amount to cover the costs, which seems odd. So this 50 yen is used for something else. It's at this point Mina appears at the till, giggling. Irina is surprised, as we all are. Irina asks if it's her sister, to which she doesn't respond, and Mina runs away into the bathhouse. You walk up to a woman named Sansumi, who asks why the bathwater is cold. Sanami claims she's the only one here. You then have to go fix the boiler, and of course that's in the boiler room. Before getting there, Matsuno appears telling you don't have much time, you shouldn't be here. Which is interesting, it's almost as if she is somewhat trying to save you, or keep you safe, or in some case even trying to protect you. In order to fix the boiler, you need to collect firewood to heat the boiler, but with the 50 yen you can also offer it to the temple, and in return you get a piece of newspaper. After fixing the boiler, you can find Mina's room key in the corner of the bathhouse where she was pulled into the bath by the girl, representing her place of death. Irina goes to tell Sansumi that the boiler is fixed, but in the sauna, it's actually her sister Mina. Irina tries to talk to her, but Mina runs away. Following her, you end up back at her apartment in 203. Inside of the apartment, you can see a futon, and it looks like someone is sleeping inside it. But when you check, no one is there, just a newspaper piece, and Yoko's diary entry. The diary is actually really interesting as it shines a lot of light on what happened to the 29-year-old that went missing at the start of the game. I think that person was Yoko. As we know at the start of the game, the monk was whipping someone, and this might have been at the end of Yoko's life. Of course, the monk wanted to keep this relationship a secret, so that once she was dead, they could remove any trace of Yoko. It makes me think that Yoko was also the granddaughter of Masuno. This is why she tries to warn you early on. She doesn't want you to meet the same fate as her granddaughter. After finding the note, you can use the sweet potato in the fridge to feed the crow in exchange for a card, which unlocks the shoe locker, and inside that locker there is another key which gives you access to the trash lock, and this in turn gives you access to the drain pipe, which can be used to fix the washing machine. After putting away the towels, you can have a bath to end the day. While showering, Irina looks into the mirror. A jump scare shows the girl looking directly at Irina, and she starts to come closer. Irina is pulled into the girl's world, like Mina was when she was killed. This puzzle that we are presented with in this moment is a mimic or a mirror puzzle. You're meant to mirror the other side of the bathroom. After the timer runs out, in my experience, the girl spawns to the corner of the room and it turns pitch black. The only light is the one to highlight the girl, and it runs red. She runs right at you, screaming in your face. It sounds like she's trying to scream, but appears muffled, almost like she's underwater. The screen fades to black and the room lights back up with a red tint, and the girl is chasing Irina. The bathhouse is absolutely covered in hair, makes it basically a nightmare. After outrunning her, you enter your room and hide in the corner. A cutscene plays and the girl enters your room without opening the door. All the time she's whispering and saying something to you. It would help if I knew Japanese at this point, but I don't. She briefly vanishes before appearing in front of you, with one of the scariest jumps I've had in a long time. The screen fades to black, and then fades in again, and you can see through Irina's eyes as she's being dragged into the boiler room. From what I can tell, the people that appear in the boiler room are the monk and the man wearing the cap. It appears as if they were putting your body in the furnace to be burnt, but as they do this, what the monk doesn't realise is that they have released the girl from Irina and into the open world. This is why she's able to use her powers to kill the monk and the man as they explode into a pool of blood. The final scene is the girl wandering outside the bathhouse, and I do wonder if the girl's goal is to destroy whoever resides in the temple, or if she wishes to seek out her grandmother for comfort. I think this is another reason that the girl attacked the monk first, as it's an act of revenge for what he has done to her. And I also think it's safe to say that Mina is dead, and her body could have disappeared because of the girl Yoko. I don't think it's as far-fetched to think that she might have consumed Mina, and this is how she's able to trick Irena into thinking that she was her sister and that she was alive. But the girl was actually luring Irena into the last part of her plan. Yoko's rebirth, if you will. This is something that's symbolized by the presence of the crow, whereas Mina had the death of the monkey, which symbolizes the anger of the gods and thus dies. Also, to add to this, I think that the dirt spot that had the shape of the girl was Yoko watching Mina and sticking beside her, attaching herself. And this is why the monk was detecting a presence. But Irena gets the crow, and she also dies, but in this process, Yoko is reborn, ready to roam the streets again. One other thing I find interesting is the Japanese doll. I feel like this is another item which connects the girl, Yoko, to the sisters, and this is how the bond remains throughout the story. I think this is why there is blood on the doll too. I also do believe that all the town members are in on this process of the offering. I believe this is why they offer a free place to stay as long as they can work in the bathhouse. It's the town's way of farming people, and as we know from countless encounters of the people of the town, they will check you and see if you look right or have the right eyes, for instance. I think this is why Yoko's diary is so important, as it shows you what happens when they don't approve of you. But anyway, this is what I think is going on in the town and in the mountains. There are some other things that I haven't touched on in this video, but I could do. But the video is long enough. But of course, if you want me to explore this even further, let me know in the comments below. But anyway, thank you so much for watching this video. Thank you for sticking with me for this nearly 20-odd minute video. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Let me know if you think I missed anything, or if there was something you noticed. I would love to hear it. And of course, if you like this kind of content and want to see more, make sure you hit subscribe, as it really helps me and the channel. But with that being said, have a lovely morning, day, or night wherever you are in the world. Stay safe, and I'll see you all in the next theory video.